why don't you tell my listeners what you had for breakfast this morning?
I had a delicious bowl of cereal, actually two bowls.
Two
Uh, uh,
bowls.
yeah,
Hungry,
two
huh?
bowls. I know, I know. I even have to add milk because it's
Okay.
those Rice Krispie. It's like those like Snap Crackle Pop,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
they like mix it together with marshmallows. It's super unhealthy, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
hilarious because my podcast from earlier today, he had some cereal and we had a whole rant about how marshmallows are unhealthy for you. So,
Oh, but when they're in cereal, I mean, like Lucky Charms, right? If you
well,
mix
right.
them in, if you mix them in with a whole bunch of oats, it
Yeah.
has to be good for you.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Yeah.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
marshmallows. Well,
Yeah.
cool. Sounds like you're off to a good start there. So, all right. I think we're sounding good. So why don't we jump into what you're currently raising money for over on Kickstarter?
Okay, perfect. So, for the past year and a half, I've been working on this project. It's the backpack right back there, and we're designing the best bag in the world for students. I myself am actually a high school student. I've
Cool.
been so for 3 years now, going on my fourth, and man, they suck. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they really suck. Like
Yeah.
it took me a couple. I ran through a couple in 1 year before I realized it had to change. So over on Kickstarter, we're launching a campaign for this guy right here.
That's sweet.
You can pick him up for $65 right now, and it completely reinvents the bag.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it sounds like this project kind of came from your own like being annoyed, basically, and I can see why. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old, and we go through like 4 backpacks a year because all the superhero ones I think are made to disintegrate. I think
Oh
there's
yeah,
there's like a
which is
clock on it. Like this,
yeah, which is ironic because it's a superhero, right?
right. It's like I think last year we had what do we have, like Iron Man or something on it, just fell apart after
Yeah.
like 3 months. So we actually made, it's funny you mentioned this. So like this year we bought real backpacks. We spent the money, a decent chunk of money. We're like, no, you're gonna have one backpack this year. So it sounds like this project for you kind of came out of that same sort of fruition. But what was sort of the first step? I mean, was it just you just went through enough of it and you're like, I got to fix this problem? But walk me through how that happened.
Oh man. So here's the problem with here's the issue with problems like this, right? And what I mean by like a problem like this is that it's so ingrained into society right now that you don't really realize it. As a student, you go to school and you see everyone's broken bags, and you're like 1 out of 10 backpacks at our school, have like a torn strap on it or duct tape holding it together. But no one says anything about it because it's like it happens to everyone,
Right.
It's not like a problem that everyone sees. It's a problem that everyone experiences, but no one sees it. So it took us a while to kind of get over that barrier and recognize that it was actually something pretty big. And I mean, if you take a look at backpacks from 30 years ago, they really haven't changed that much. And we show a picture of one we found on Craigslist, a 30-year-old backpack, and we took a 3-day-old backpack that we just went out to the store and bought side by side. Things look identical,
Right.
So clearly someone hasn't, like, it's been a while since someone's recognized it. So, I guess we just got lucky. I mean, at the right time, like my bag broke at the exact same time that my friend came up to me and was like, man, these bags really suck.
Right.
And it just kind of hit. And I was like, that's it.
That's it. Well, what's the first step out of that? I mean, I deal with a lot of stuff that's annoying, but I don't think I'll go ahead and make my own. So what did you guys do to like get the process started and
okay.
get this idea off the ground?
Really interesting. Yeah. You're right. When most people see a problem, they're just like, okay,
I'll go on Amazon. I'll buy something else.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
So, we did that. We went on Amazon and I found a whole bunch of really good bags, but all the really nice bags are designed for like photographers, skiers, businessmen, or cyclists. Like there's massive followings for all those groups. But the truth is the majority of backpacks are sold to students. And, all the student backpacks are really junk. So when we went online, we kind of saw that. And I've always been a maker. Like, ever since I was a kid, I love making stuff with my hands. I've done competitive robotics for the past 5 years. So I really like taking stuff and putting it together. So, when it came down to this problem and when I went online and I was like, there's nothing here. I just jumped in and got my hands on it. And like I said, I have no, like 2 years ago, no clue how to sew. Like I couldn't even name fabrics. I have no, like, okay, whatever. This is just like, now I can name this fabric, this like stitching pattern and all that. And that's because I just jumped into it. I made them out of cardboard first. You can see some prototype pictures we have. because that's what I knew how to work with. I like doing paper mache. So me and my business partner went out and we just we went to Michael's, which is just a store near here. They sell cardstock, cut it all together, made the dimensions kind of look right.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly turned it into what you see today. And that's just through self-learning, like, man, hundreds of YouTube videos watched. We baited our school sewing teacher into we didn't have to take sewing classes, but we go in during our lunch periods and, run stuff through the sewing machines, break a few.
Right.
Plenty of needles, but hey, you put your head to something and we know how to sew now.
Well, that's awesome. What was what were some of the major elements that you wanted to fix though? Was it just durability? Was it pockets in it? Was it portability? What were you trying to kind of go after in those early prototypes where you were like, man, this is what I want to fix?
So really good question. There's a lot wrong with the bag. One that we bring up a lot is durability. Obviously, it's very clear that a lot of these student backpacks are just made with maximizing profit margins in mind. Where companies go out and they just try to use the cheapest materials. That's a little bit easier to solve. The harder parts to solve are like the functions, how many pockets people want, and all that. So we had a few ideas ourselves because we were students. But we really took this into the community's hands, and we polled thousands of students. Everyone at our school, all of our friends at other schools, and we just got a huge list of like, hey, do you want a solar panel, on the bag? Do you want a portable charger on the bag? What really matters to you the most? And it turns out, what matters to people the most is just like getting to your books and stuff as fast as possible. And we saw this because we're in a really unique position here. We're in the best environment for this product, for this problem. Every day, I have 8 classes a day. I walk in a class, I see a herd of 20 people packing stuff into their books, leaving, and then I see another herd of 20 unpacking their stuff and putting them on the tables. So I go through this cycle of, these interactions with a bag eight times a day. And, I can see where bags get snagged on books, and stuff like that. So circling back, we really wanted to make the interactions with the bag as quick as possible. Hence why you get the side opening technology on the way to school. Or on the way to class, you can just open it up and toss books in, take books out. This guy right here, this pencil case, it comes out just like that, half a second. There's no zipper on the top that you have to open up and then lift books out of the way and stuff this in. It's simple. It's one magnet. It slips right in and it slips right out. So when the bell rings, when class is done, it's just like you slip it right in and click it out and you're out of the classroom before all your friends.
That's interesting. So we've worked with, I've worked with quite a few clients who have done what you've done in terms of like asking people, right? Like getting as much feedback as possible. You mentioned like the solar panel. Was it hard not to make this the most teched out, coolest thing on the planet because you wanted to apply everything to it and actually just listen to function? I mean, I find so many people just falter on that and, they've got 25 things on it and none of them, it doesn't actually do anything really well,
Jeff, you're talking to a big time nerd here. Like you have to understand, like I love soldering, like I said, I love robotics. Like I know how to code in like a bunch of language. Like I spend my life around technology. So if there's anyone better suited for putting technology in a student backpack, it's probably a student that really knows a lot about technology.
Right.
And the truth is like, it's a good idea, putting a charger in the bag. It's like, okay, you want to charge your laptop or your phone until you really get into the intricacies of it and you understand how much heavier it makes the bag.
Right.
And how much more you have to spend on each bag to waterproof the pockets to make sure that the batteries don't react with water. So, in terms of like a student's budget and in terms of just the practicality of the bag, it doesn't really make much sense. If you want a battery charger, go out and buy a battery charger and we have a pocket for it. You can put it in there, but we're not going to charge every single student $20 more just to buy our own, battery and chuck it in there. So you talk to a lot of people, you do a ton of research and you make a ton of prototypes. Enough prototypes later, you learn that, sometimes solar panels don't belong on backpacks.
Right. So how long was this process? You said, was it 2 years you've been working on this?
Oh man. So I think a year and a half, like
Yeah.
officially since day one where we like started, but it was a couple months before that where we just started gaining some ideas and talking back and forth. So it's been in our minds for 2 years, but
Okay.
execution wise, it was a year and a half.
Gotcha. What was there any sort of moment that was like a major roadblock where you just couldn't do something you wanted to do? Did you run into any major snags that you had to pivot from?
Um, Interesting. Yeah. So the biggest thing for us was, and the part of the reason why it took a year and a half was because like in the end, we're students, both me and my business partner, right? Like our full-time job is going to school,
Right.
and you know, trying to start this thing and do homework and study. It's a huge juggling act. So, you know, we don't have a lot of income going in. So in terms of like initial capital, we didn't have a ton of money to spend. So when it came down to like getting someone to actually professionally make a prototype, we had to, you know, try to do as much as possible ourselves.
Sure.
So in terms of like spending money, we had to be very careful. So we like, yeah, so we like had to find the right people, like other students that, you know, weren't charging an arm and a leg to design the bag or to draw it up. A great friend of ours actually used to be on our robotics team, Samantha Ho. She's at Carnegie Mellon right now studying product design, and we were lucky enough to connect with her. She's the one that drew the whole bag out, and she's really into fashion.
I got a t-shirt on. I did
Dude,
my part today.
Yeah. Don't ask me to draw a circle.
Right. Yeah. That's
know?
funny. How about on the flip side of that? I want to kind of get back to that part just a second here, but just kind of follow up on that question. Was there a moment though where you knew you had something? I mean, is it the first prototype that you had got your hands on it and actually used it? What was the moment that just really connected that you should keep going with this and maybe launch a Kickstarter?
It was the first time we gave our prototype bags to our friends. And that bag looked nothing like this.
Right.
Not at all. It was a bag. And the only thing it did was open from the side, you know?
Right.
And we're like, this thing looks like complete crap, you know? It was horrible. So we gave it to our friends and we're like, hey, just try it out. Let me know what you think about opening it up from the side. And, you know, 2 days later, we gave it to a couple friends, a couple people who aren't so fond of us, so maybe they're not as biased. And they're like, geez, dude, this is big. The side opening thing's big. You know, especially for lockers, like kids who are dealing with lockers, you have to imagine, I'm not sure, it's probably been a couple years.
A little bit.
Since you've dealt with a locker.
Just a couple, yeah.
You know, but it sucks. Like when you open up the locker and you're taking the books out and you have to lay your bag on the floor, but if you have like a top locker, it's annoying because the person below you gets, So, you know, we really learned we had something when we gave the first prototypes to our friends and we got the feedback.
That's cool. So I want to go back to that last question because you were talking about a couple of things that I think are really important. And you might not realize this, but you were hitting on a couple of things there of, you know, sometimes the best ideas come from, or the best CEOs or the best product designers come from actually having limitations. How much did you feel like that actually helped by you actually having to do some of these things, making the prototypes, getting cardboard, or just, you know, because you were so into it, you kind of got to see the full thing of it. Do you think that really had a major impact on it and how you can see even moving forward and then products down the road and that sort of stuff?
That's really interesting. Totally. I mean, yes, the limitation of you know, the economic aspect, the limitation there, like I said, caused us to learn how to backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, absolutely, like I know exactly how this backpack's made. Like I know the exact materials, stitching methods, zippers, manufacturing methods, all because I did my due diligence and research, and because of, you know, we couldn't afford for someone else to make the decisions, someone who knew better. You know?
Right. I can't stress enough how many times we've had people who can obviously hire us, give us big retainers, all that sort of stuff, but actually don't really know their product. Like they're just like, they don't really know it, or they can't truly imagine how it actually works in the real world. So yeah, it's a good idea. You can say that, but to really know how it works, I think that only comes from, sometimes just getting your hands really, really dirty, or having limitations. I come from the old songwriting world, and the best songs come out of when we give restrictions on people, especially with technology, and you can have access to every song, every sound imaginable on your computer. You know, you can't actually stop and create something. So I think it's a really intriguing thing that you hit on, and might not even realize how important it is. It's very intriguing. So with that said, I want to move on a little bit over to just kind of how you stay, organized while running a Kickstarter campaign, going to school. What are some of the tips and techniques you're doing right now to just stay on point, answering comments, emails, taking requests from guys like me saying, "Hey, let's talk on a podcast."
No, I appreciate it. It was great. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, you said it yourself. Like you know how many emails creators like us get. It's just a lot of grit. Like honestly, like not a lot of sleep, a lot of grit, and just find some really great people. The partner that I'm working with right now just has his head down. It's summer for us right now, thank God. And like the majority of our work's in the summer, which is good. We're not dealing with school. But when school starts back up and they're the last few days of Kickstarter, I don't know. All I can say is probably trade some A's for some bags, Right. At some point, you only have so many hours in a day, and you have to choose whether to, answer some comments or study an extra hour for the test.
Right.
You just have to make those decisions. But I'm really happy with it. There's a quote. I believe Mark Twain said it. My partner told me this, but he said, "I never let my schooling interfere with my education." And I wholeheartedly believe that. Completely. Like the amount of stuff I've learned with this project is just amazing. Half the reason why we did this project is just so that we could kind of learn about business as a whole.
There's no better way. There's no better way than what you've done here to like prepare yourself for marketing techniques, how to interview, how to present yourself, getting your hands dirty, whatever it might be, making decisions, right? Like if we only have X amount, we got to do this instead of this. I mean, there's no better way than doing it this way. So it is the best education. There's no doubt about it. So are you doing, back on these sort of staying organized, because this is again, we try to talk about things that I've seen other project creators struggling with. Are there any tools that you're using to stay focused? Is there any like to-do list apps or anything in your kind of day-to-day life that keeps you organized?
Yeah. So a really good website, I'm sure you know that, KickTrack.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good for like the actual telemetry of how our campaign is going right now. That's really good. There are just product management tools. Just between Jonathan and I, Dropbox is really good. Google Drive, we keep everything on the drive.
Mm-hmm.
We're fairly organized. That's just kind of the nature of how Jonathan and I have been.
Yeah.
But it's just like really keeping it in touch and stuff.
How did you, what was the kind of the process behind, either finding a partner, like I think Jonathan, you said his name, or, kind of seeking out other people who could, what was her name? Samantha, I think you said, right? Who could help with design. How did you sort of get to those points where you're like, we need to bring somebody else on or outsource this to get to here?
Okay. Well, the drawing one was simple. Just have to let, I can criticize myself pretty hard on my drawing. So that was easy. I was like, there's no way I can draw this thing, So like Sam was easy. It's like, we need a drawer. Jonathan, this whole thing just came up with Jonathan at the same time. He co-founded it with me, and he's great. He's just on my robotics team. We did super well together. The just work environment between us has always been really good. So that was kind of a no-brainer. Both of us are super hard workers. And most importantly, both of us are willing to dedicate, the last years of high school to this project. You're not going to find many students that are willing to drop everything and work on a Kickstarter at age 17, 18. Mm-hmm. In terms of like, it's just the point where like, we had someone prototype the bag for us. And that got to the point where we realized like, hey, we can learn about like 90% of sewing in 3 months, but the last 10% that perfects a bag, I mean, like 90%, like, how to put like this and this together, but how to make it like curl nicely and put a tape line between it. We were able to strike up a good deal with someone and just be able to pay for something that someone else could do for us. So anytime we like had the funding for it, it seemed reasonable, and we knew it would save us a ton of time, we'd bring someone else in.
That's cool. What do your parents do?
My dad's in like the technology space, so nothing like this at all. Yeah. And my
Your mom?
mom's at home. She's at home.
Okay. Well, where do you think this entrepreneur sort of bug is kicking in?
Um,
Grandparents? I mean, what's making you kind of go down this rabbit hole?
oh man. I just, like I said, I was just always born with like, it's really it's not even the entrepreneur. Like that's just a byproduct of me love working with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just love building. I love putting stuff together. Anytime I see a problem, like I'll fix it for myself.
Right.
Like I worked, I think when I was like 9 years old, I worked and built my own 3D printer. And I just started 3D printing random stuff. Anytime there's a tiny problem, like I couldn't set my phone next to my bed. So I ended up like 3D printing an own little custom stand that like VHB'd, it like taped to the wall, and it like auto held a cable so I could plug my phone in. And I just get some sort of satisfaction from solving small problems.
Yeah.
And I think where the entrepreneurship and business aspect come in, they come in when I realize that I can now solve problems for other people.
Sure.
Rather than
That's
myself.
Right.
Because I've been just solving all these problems for myself. And now you bring in marketing and polls and stuff, and you can solve much bigger problems for a much bigger set of people.
That's awesome. Well, let's flip over to the Kickstarter, which is why we're actually talking. So today, while we're talking, I'm looking at day 28. But you had a goal of $35,000 and you just crossed that, which is awesome, with 324 backers. So that's awesome. So congrats on getting over that first hump there. But what was some of the strategies you were using before you launched the campaign? I don't know if there's any metrics you were looking at, but what was some of the ideas behind going to Kickstarter and trying to raising this first round of money this way?
Interesting. We thought Kickstarter would be a perfect market in terms of, if you look at the demographics of people who use Kickstarter, it tends to be college students and a little bit past that. And now high school students are moving into it. So if there is any, really good group of people for this product, it's college students and, upperclassmen in high school.
Sure.
So the demographics were right. And we really wanted product validation. So, if we cross this border on Kickstarter, we're like, okay, enough people want this thing to make it a thing. So we're planning on going into retail after Kickstarter. We just didn't know if anyone would want the bag. Anyone outside of our circles, of course. All of our friends were like, oh, I'd buy that thing in a second.
Right. But
you don't really know if that's what the world wants. So Kickstarter was a really, really good tool for that. All we were looking for from Kickstarter was that backer number was above our, personal friend list.
Sure.
Which clearly it is. Like we launched.
Well, maybe you're a real popular guy. I don't know.
No, even so, even if I did have that many friends, not all of them would spend $65, So it was just amazing. I mean, we launched, truly we expected to get, I was crossing my fingers that on day 35, it's a 35-day campaign, that we get $35,000. If we're like lucky, if all the stars aligned. But on day one, we got like 26,000, which was insane.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness. It absolutely blew me away.
Well, to hit that, I mean, what did you do then? And was there a pre-launch strategy? Is basically what I should say. Actually, were you running Facebook ads or anything like that prior to, or what were you doing before? So
we were told, and we were told by a lot of people that did Kickstarters. We just reached out to them, and by researching very successful Kickstarters, we learned that there are a few marketing agencies that do a really good job with this stuff. Mm-hmm. They can just collect the right lists of people, send emails out, et cetera, et cetera. And the truth is, once again, like we're students, like we, at a certain point, like we couldn't afford it at the time.
Right.
So once again, we got dirty and did it all ourselves. Like Facebook, Facebook ads, Snapchat ads. The beautiful part about this is like we're students, so we market towards ourselves. So wherever I spend my time, right, wherever my friends spend their time generally tends to be what a lot of other 18-year-olds spend their time with. So like really small Instagram, like meme pages, for example, a businessman at, I don't want to say any names, but like a businessman at another large competitor at a student backpack store, might not guess some of these nooks and crannies that students are starting to flow into, but because we're really updated with student culture and all that, we can really understand where students spend their time. So we took advantage of that stuff, a lot of really low players for not a lot of money. And then Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, ads. And we're running those right now, but I think we might, no promises, but we might be able to, now that we've passed our goal, partner with a marketing agency.
Sure.
And we'll see how that goes.
Sure. How did the Snapchat ads work? You're the first person that I've ever had discuss them. I mean, I've looked into them, I've ran some, but in terms of Kickstarters, what were some of the metrics, or just what were you looking at, or do you just want to have a presence on that platform?
The presence was huge. You know, in every person I talk to spends a ton of time on Snapchat. Like I don't know the percentage of American like 24 to 16-year-olds on Snapchat. That's our demographic.
Yeah.
But it's huge. And people tend to like, marketing on Snapchat's still really new.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that. Like they're having ad issues right now trying to, I mean, like Snapchat's still really working out their whole pricing model, but it was really good just for getting in front of people. And you have to know how to do it right, because Snapchat is a lot different from Instagram and Facebook in terms of people's attention span.
Yep.
And we know that a lot. Like when we see a lot of ads on Snapchat, you'll click through it instantly, right? You're just watching something and you just tap right through it. So you have to know where to place the ads and like the discoverables and stuff. But our return on interest was actually pretty good with Snapchat.
That's interesting. That's intriguing. Frankly, I haven't thought about it, but I haven't had any products that I would probably go after just a high school or a kid's in terms of Kickstarter. So it's intriguing. Very interesting. So, you know, right now with 28 days to go, I mean, you mentioned a little bit that you may be working with another agency or whatever that might be. But what else do you see kind of happening to keep the momentum going? Because you definitely want the thing to go this way, right? So what kind of strategies are you kind of looking at to keep the momentum going?
A lot of guerrilla marketing. So I'm in LA right now. And that's where we're based. And there's a lot of, you know, colleges around here, USC, UCLA. And, you know, sometimes I can get away with just printing 1 million flyers and running on I mean, like, you know, I'm an 18-year-old kid. I can do that. Who cares if I get yelled at, right? Yeah. So you really just that stuff. That's really good. We're starting to send bags to a lot of small, like medium-sized YouTube influencers and Instagram influencers. So
is there like a request that when you're doing that sort of strategy and you're looking for influencers, is, you know, do you have sort of a outcome in mind, or you just send it and see what happens?
I mean, we're still new to this, right? So like more than half of our emails are just no responses, because I'm sure we're like wording them wrong, or like it's not coming from an ad agency. But we really would just love to know what people really think of the bag, like getting credible reviews on the bag. And, you know, it doesn't have to be a certain like return on interest or anything. We're really just looking to get the bag out in the world. Part of the pricing structure is like that as well. Like John and I intentionally made our profits off each bag super low, just to make the price as low as possible. Like if this bag was to get the same, I don't know, same profit percent as like a JanSport, for example, this thing would have to be way over $100.
Right.
But we priced it way below that because our satisfaction currently in life, like I've got a roof over my head and food on the table, thanks to my parents. But the point is, like, I don't have to pay for that stuff right now.
Right.
So I can forward those cost savings onto all of the customers. And the majority of my satisfaction is going to be monetary. It's going to be from going to a college next year and seeing the bag on some random stranger's back.
Right. Well, the other thing too, that this is why we always encourage everybody to do a Kickstarter is you will probably have other designs down the road or something else. So as long as you have that track record, you at some point might have a $250 thing, whatever it might be, right? Where you have your profits in there. But if you've built up this goodwill, you've built up a good database, good emails, and people believe in you and are following you. Because again, these 324 backers they're your street team right now. They believe in this idea. That's really where the long haul is. So the position you're in is what we actually tell a lot of clients as well, of like, you know, don't try to make all your money on the first go round. Like, be cool. It's a long tail approach. So it sounds like you're kind of thinking that same way where there's going to be more down the road. Trust yourself. You'll know you have other products down the next year, 2 years from now, whatever it might be. So
yeah, absolutely.
So has there been anything weird behind the scenes in your dashboard where you're like, wow, we have a whole bunch of shipment to Japan or something where you're just like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a funny question. You've ran a few Kickstarters.
Yeah. I've seen weird things where I'm like, well, that's odd. I wasn't.
That's so funny. Yeah, New Zealand. It's like, what?
Right. Weird. That is interesting.
Just New Zealand kids. Maybe they like the colors.
Wow, that's weird. I wouldn't have thought New Zealand. All right, intriguing.
Me neither.
Well, that's cool. So, what kind of do you see as maybe like the 1-year plan? Is this where you want to work and just continue to make backpack designs or products for kids? Where do you kind of see the next year or 2 years going for you?
That's a big one. Wow, it totally depends on where the Kickstarter sits, what we end with, how much inventory we can build up, and then ultimately when we move into retail, if we still experience the same desire for the product as we have right now on Kickstarter. So if this is doing really well, we're going to really improve on Prova. And I think what it is for me is just really, really, really leveraging my unique place as a student and my unique place as a young entrepreneur to continue to solve problems in my age group. So I think that's super important. You're not going to find you're not going to find like a 60-year-old making Tinder.
Right.
It's a college student, of course.
Right.
Facebook, college student, of course. And like a retirement fund, that's not going to be a college student, of course.
Right.
So like when you look into backpacks, you're like, hold up, like, that company started as a hiking company. That other company started as a skiing company, and they're all like, none of them have been to school, like actually using a backpack in school for a while.
Right.
So you start to realize that the best products are made by people who experience the problems.
Yeah.
So I really believe in that. Like I believe in that with my heart. So I'm going to continue to solve problems that I experience.
And do you see that maybe even being 5 years or so out? I mean, is this something where you see that yourself like constantly creating companies or taking these skill sets and maybe working for somebody else? I mean, I know it's early, but what would be some of these plans that you can envision, or maybe even like, hey, you sell this company to somebody else and then you create another one.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of see the whole game kind of playing out a little bit?
I am super passionate about robotics right now. Like it's pretty much my whole life. Freshman year, actually, I won the World Robotics Championship, the skills portion of it. And it's like out of 100,000 students. So like I'm that level of dedication. Like I dedicate up to 3 to 4 hours a day just building robots. So when it comes down to like merging things that I'm passionate about and that I really want to start a future in, it's probably going to be around building a company in like the technology space or like the mechatronic space in the future. I want to go to school for applied physics or mechanical engineering, potentially do business school if I'm lucky enough, and then really move into changing the world with robots. I really think it's the future, especially with electric cars. I'm really into the automotive industry, and it's all lining up perfectly for me right now. Like the time I leave college, electric cars, robotic cars, and in technology, all this stuff is going to merge together. And I think I'm going to be in the perfect place for it.
That's awesome. Don't let me forget. I need to connect you with a guy. One of my best buddies is the PR person for a robotics company here in Ann Arbor.
Really?
And yeah, he would love to chat with you. He is all about this stuff. It's a pretty big robotic firm.
You know what it's called?
No, because it's just like a weird name. But I will connect you guys no matter what. Cause, I actually just saw, I was on Twitter with him earlier. He was chatting. He got interviewed, for some robotics. Yeah, you would enjoy his conversations in a nutshell. So, well, we'll bring it back to here. So we'll finish up this conversation here in just a minute, but you've got 28 days to go. You've got about 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days when the money all drops and all that sort of stuff. And it all kind of shakes out. But what starts the process after that? How do you get these backpacks in all your backers' hands? What starts for you?
This was huge for us, being able to validate to all of our customers that we're going to deliver this product. It's especially hot on Kickstarter with like the coolest cooler and stuff. There's a lot of stories out there with people not being able to deliver. So you take that aspect of it, us launching on Kickstarter, and then you take the aspect that we are a group of kids, right? And we knew going into this that that's going to turn a lot of people off. So we really, really, really made sure to be prepared on this. So everything's already set up. So when the money drops, We're even today, we're contacting the factory, and materials have already been ordered for the bags. At least like the initial like bulk custom order bags. So that like I went to Xiamen, China to our factory to make sure that it's a real factory with real people and real workers making our bags. So when we say, hey, make our bag, there are no problems there. We've got a really good connection with them. I've a mentor who's been helping us, has worked with them for a couple years now. So the truth is, like, we've already made dozens of bags. Like I said, they're shipping out to influencers all over the place right now. We've tested them. They exist. Like, these bags exist right now. It's not like it's an idea on paper that we happen to like CAD up or sketch up and we use some Photoshop to like put that strap on. This thing, like this isn't a picture. It is a physical bag. It's, look, no Photoshop here. So like, these exist. And all we have to do is give one email to our factory and everything's set up. Like logistics, like we have all the companies already set up for all that.
That's cool. Very, very awesome. Well, where can people find more information? How do they kind of dive into your world outside of Kickstarter? How can they follow you guys and learn about stuff?
Okay, absolutely. So our website is provadesign.com, Prova. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Cameron Schiller. You can find me on Instagram. I'm Cameron Schiller. I don't know my Snapchat handle, but you can follow my robotics Instagram if any of your listeners recognize me through robotics. I have over 250,000 views, which is like not a ton.
Yeah, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I'm like I said, really into robotics. I'm really into movie making, so I've got a bunch of robotic stuff over there. If you want to watch it, that's Cameron Schiller on YouTube. It should just pop right up. Yeah. Follow me through those channels. I'd love it. You can follow our Prova Instagram. Just look up Prova Design.
That's awesome. Well, Cameron, you got a great product here. I was very excited for this conversation. I'm glad we could connect, and I wish you nothing but success over the next few weeks here or so, and then obviously in the future in your new products. This is awesome, and continued good luck, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate the call.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right. Peace. Bye.